Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do a very simple black and white floral. We're going to try to keep it very easy for our beginners, and I'll show you step by step how to do it from drawing to finished painting. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat during the live show, so if you've got questions, you can post those and we'll try to get them answered. All right, let's get started. Okay, so my reference image was in color, but I just decided to go ahead and make it black and white. So you can do that really with any subject you want to. And I'm going to show you tonight 5 different blacks. So, because I get questions a lot about carbon black and what blacks should I use. So I'm just going to show you some differences between the different blacks as later on after we get going. I've started out with a black canvas. Well, I've painted it with a coat of carbon black. This is a 9x12 inch Fredrix Pro linen board, so it's a little bit like a soft, low texture. The linen is a little tighter weave than some cotton canvases, but you can really use whatever you've got. But think linen canvases are a little bit smoother, and that's what we'll be using tonight. Thank you to Fredrix, they're our canvas sponsor. Yay! We should have like applause.
I know, I need to get that
like
track.
An audience applause track. Yeah. Princeton is our brush sponsor, and the brushes we're going to be using from them tonight are the 6100 series, number 6 Filbert, number 1 round, the number 3/8 inch angle and 1/4 inch angle in the VelvetTouch line. All of the links for the materials are down in the description if you want to find those on Amazon. It helps our store a little bit if you buy through our link. And the Brush Guys brushes, if you use the code Angela Fine Art, you get 5% off. So anyhow, all right, let's go over our colors, which we've got 3. So it's going to take forever. Carbon black, titanium white, unbleached titanium. And really, I'm just you could just do it with these two. I'm using the unbleached titanium just to give it a little bit more of a neutral white that we can change. And I thought about using like burnt umber and ultramarine blue. That would kind of give us a little bit warmer look. We could kind of play with cools and warms with the blue and browns, but that's up to you. I just decided to make it a little bit more simplified for this lesson. But you can totally make your own gray if you want to, or make your own black, but with those 2 colors, if you choose to do that. All right, so let's go over our drawing really quick. And these are basically 5-petal flowers. They're some of them are kind of turned in different directions, so not very many. Really, this one is about the only one that's kind of really facing us, and all the rest of them are kind of turned to the side somewhat, and it's really not that hard to draw them as long as you kind of remember where the petals are all heading towards. So this one was kind of smack dab in the middle. This is where I started, and I did the little circle for the top, and it's really kind of a cone shape almost. And then I did my petals coming out from that, and they are like what is that shape? I don't even know. That's kind of the basic shape right there.
Squished oval.
Yeah, like a squished oval or diamond shape, sort of.
That's a geometric term.
Right. Technical. And then this one's kind of turned to its side a little bit. So it's looking a little even more squished, right? And then this one, we're just barely seeing the edge of it. So it's going to look like that. And then this one is kind of more rounded, like that. All right, then we're going to have our stem coming down like this at a curve. And there's one above it that's kind of smushed right here. There's well, let's start with the center, right? So that's the most important part right there. Then here's our kind of diamond shape petal. This one's a little bit rounded, maybe. This one's kind of facing off this side and curve it in here. And then this one is curved in like that. Then there's some gray ones that are back here. So we're going to kind of put those in, but they'll be a little bit softer. You won't see them as much. And then here's our stem for this guy. It's going to come right down here like that. And this flower is going to cover over in front of it. So we'll do this one next. Here's the center. And here's our kind of diamond-shaped petal. This one comes out like that. And really, if you want to simplify this, you could do them all like this. It'd look really pretty. So, just kind of do it however makes you happy. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine. I'm going to move this one down a little bit. So this guy's going to be down here. Maybe like this. There's our center. And this one is outside edge is a little more scalloped for some reason. Flat. And this one's flat as well. This is just kind of a triangle shape almost. There's a stem. There's a stem. Stem's going to lead right to that. So just make sure your line is pointing towards that middle there. Let's do this one. This one's kind of facing us, so we got a circle here. It's going to go in front of this stem. We've got there. Almost a heart shape there. And like that. And really, not too worried about them being all the same size, because these ones that are in front are actually, they're turned towards us. So even if they're this size, if they turn, you see how they get smaller. So this is our petal that's facing us. As we turn towards us, it's going to be shorter. As it turns to the side, it's going to be thinner and narrower. So that's what we've got going on here. All these different ones, they're just kind of turning these petals, they're all the same size. Just depends on how they're turning. You can even use your hand if you need to figure out kind of what shape we're looking at. All right, let's see. So I'm going to move this one over here. I kind of pre-drew some of these, but I'm going to move them over a little bit. So that one's got this kind of S shape that kind of goes on the outside of this one here. And then there's another one that kind of faces these ones here. So this one is, let's do this one up here. So the top part of it is kind of a flat line. And then it's going to have these petals coming out. And then we're just seeing this one right here with a little bit of that center right there. So this one's really flat. And then this one, put it right here. And I'm using chalk because it's easy to erase any mistakes. So, and if you really want it to be completely erased, just dip your towel in some water, get a little water, and just wipe it right off. Just don't wipe too hard because you don't want to take the paint off the undercoat. There, it's still not cured until kind of sets for about 24 hours or more. Even though it's dry, it's not fully set. So just keep that in mind. Right.
Well, that was much easier than expected. I didn't have a single problem with that.
Really? Followed along just fine?
Yeah.
Nice. Glad to hear it.
I was barely paying attention and still got done.
I want to see yours after the show here.
Oh, the dog ate it. He's
The
right
dog
here.
ate
Yeah,
it?
he's right here.
Okay. He needed a snack. I don't believe you.
Why not? Can't believe you don't believe me.
Okay, then this one tucked in right here. I feel like this one should have been over a little bit because I'm kind of running out of space right here. Here. Okay. I think I am going to move this first one over just a little bit. Just so it's not so crowded.
Man, now mine is ruined.
Sorry.
I did it in permanent marker. Jeez.
I told you to use chalk.
Yeah, but I wasn't paying attention, so, you know.
Well, now you know. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. So there are no mistakes, just happy accidents, right?
That's what they tell me.
That's what old Bob says. I believe it.
Bob.
All right, so let's do this one over again. So let's move a little bit over right here. And you could do this on paper if you want to, just to kind of, so you don't have to do it straight onto your canvas. You can practice it on paper and then use some transfer paper. It's just, I'm going to move this one over too, because I don't want that stem hidden. Okay. We're just moving all these, sorry. I just realized I started too far over there.
So what you're saying, it may be a good idea to wait for the traceable.
Well, yeah. Sorry if you're trying to draw along with me here tonight. Hopefully you started over a little farther over than I did. Okay. There we go. And then there's some gray kind of ones that are sort of behind some of these. You could leave those out if you don't want to, mess with those. If we want to, we can kind of put some of those in. There's also a couple of long, tall ones that sort of are just little buds. I kind of like the look of the bud ones, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in, I think. All right, so there's our basic flower shapes. Not too difficult, even though I made it look like it was. Okay, so one thing before we start, this is just kind of something that I thought we would try. I haven't showed this before. I've got a sanding block, and sometimes on black and white canvases, it's kind of nice to, since it's so black, just to give it a little bit extra interest or texture. We can take the sanding block to it, sand down parts of our canvas. It's going to be hard because it's chalk. I should have done it before I drew it, probably. That's smart. If you don't have a sanding block, what you could do is use an emery board, just a nail file, some sort. Just makes these kind of lines. I don't know. It softens up the look of the black, and it gives it these kind of different surface texture. So we're just kind of trying to scrape off some of it just to kind of distress it a little bit. And we can do it after we paint a little bit too, after we get some of this white on there, first layer of paint on. All right. So I'd probably do that before I started painting, or before I sketched it on or transferred on anything. That way you could kind of get it pretty uniform, but actually kind of wanted it just sort of in these upper areas where the canvas was just solid black, you know, just to kind of break it up a little bit. All right, you can kind of see how that looks now. It's sort of distressed, sort of weathered looking. I don't know, I just kind of think it's cool looking. All right, let's get to painting here. So I'm going to start with the Filbert brush. This is number 6 Filbert, and I'm going to make a gray with the 2 colors there. And I'm going to make it fairly dark, kind of a medium gray, but on the dark side. On the dark side. Didn't mean to say that, but works. And I'm going to kind of put in some of these kind of phantom flowers that are back here that are kind of in the background. They're a little bit brighter in our picture, but I want them to be a little bit more indistinct. I don't want them so bright. So I'm just going to kind of dab on some little random flowers. And there's really only kind of a few of them in here. So just like that. And then let's put in a few little stems for some of those. I'm just going to use the edge of my brush. To just put in some little stems going to nowhere that are sort of just going to be, maybe do one there. Kind of doing petal shapes. This one, you can look in the picture here. What I'm doing is these ones. So I'm doing this one here, this one that's kind of behind here, a little bit there, a little bit right here, a little bit up there. That's pretty much it. And then there's just some kind of random stems that go to them. That's all I'm trying to kind of do. All right. So now I'm going to make a little bit lighter gray. This will be our flower color. And some of their, you know, there's petals are different darknesses of. Yeah, you just X out of OBS and restart it, and don't do anything to YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, just leave it.
Okay, we'll see if that worked.
Okay. Hopefully that's better. All right, so I'm going to grab a little bit lighter version and do this petal right here. It's kind of a triangle shape. It looks like it's fixed it, maybe?
Yeah, it's not showing anything dropped right now,
Great.
So we're doing better. Sorry, everybody, for
Bad
that.
first part.
Yeah. It started off okay, and then it just started getting real glitchy for some reason.
It's weird. Well, it's been a while since we've had issues, so I guess we were due.
And you were smart to keep the YouTube going.
Yeah.
You're an old pro.
I've learned. I've done it.
Or a pro. You're not old.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit darker right there. This petal's kind of coming around the corner. Okay, so there we go. That's all I'm going to do, just kind of start them. So let's do this one here. Doing okay still?
Yep, we're doing good.
Good.
So normally that doesn't happen. So if you're first joining us, sorry about that.
Well, welcome, guys.
Yeah, and thanks for hanging in there with us.
Yeah.
Yep. And hope you subscribe to the channel. It's really not that bad usually. We just click buttons and the software normally works.
Yeah. All right, going back over this softly with the white to kind of add some highlights. I'm just kind of lightly dragging it this time. We'll probably need a couple coats of this to cover this black all the way, but you can kind of see how we're doing this. Okay, so let's do this petal. Kind of straight, and then it kind of curves in. A lot of this one's kind of covered up in our picture, so I'm trying to guess what it looks like. So I'm not going to put everything in front of it that's in our picture. So this is kind of a straight line right here. This kind of comes out a little bit there, but since it's kind of facing to the side, the bottom of it is sort of flat. Okay, grabbing a little bit of white and come back in and just, I've got pretty thick paint on my brush, but I don't have to glob it on. I'm just kind of setting it down and lightly dragging it through that wet paint, and it's catching. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I don't even paint. I think it's cool.
Let's do it on this one. A little bit of white here. Okay, let's do this one a little bit darker gray because it's a little bit farther back. I'm just going to kind of try to create some distance with our values here. These ones that are darker are going to look a little farther away maybe. Let's grab a little bit of white. They're pretty. Not going to look like much until we get our centers of our flowers on, so just kind of go with it for now. Just know that it'll get better the more we do to it. And I'm kind of leaving the centers a little bit dark. We're going to put our center of our flower in there, so I just want to leave a little bit of darkness for us to work against. A little bit of contrast there. So I'm kind of starting on the edge of the flower and pulling in. That way I have a little bit more control over how much paint's going in the center there. Kind of lifting it up as I get towards the center.
And which brush are you using right now?
This is the Filbert.
Okay.
This is what I've been using for the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, and all the excitement, we got kind of lost.
No, that's all right.
So can you go back to the beginning of redrawing the flowers? I think that's where it got bad.
Oh, did really?
No, just kidding.
Okay. I hate that was happening.
Yeah, several people dropped out because they thought it was on their end. And
Oh, no.
they're coming back
Good.
slowly, so hopefully.
Probably could shut down their computer and restart it. All right.
Yep.
I'm going to spray my palette a little bit. I am going to use this white too, but I'm going to just do this first layer, this color, and then we'll create, some different things happening with that other. It'll create a little bit warmer gray with the Unbleached Titanium because it's kind of got to have a little bit of a yellow base in the white. It's kind of an ivory color. So this is actually really simple. You could do this in any color scheme. You don't have to do black in the background. You could do color and then just use that color with your white to create your contrast, you know, for your petals. So you kind of open up a whole world of possibilities here. Ideas of different kind of monochromatic color schemes. This black and white is really trendy right now. It's like if you go to any furniture store, it's pretty much all you're going to see is black and white prints. It's either like really all the colors of the rainbow or black and white. It's like.
Now, you did a tree painting a while back.
I did, yeah, of the black and white. Yeah, trees. Yeah, they were very simple. We just used a sponge brush for those.
So if you're a beginner, you might go check that out.
Yeah.
Because you did it black and white, and then you did another one, a follow-up, where you did one of them with a pop of color.
Yep. Yeah, one of the flowers was.
And actually, I've been seeing several of those coming up in your
too,
Facebook group.
It's funny how that kind of happens. The older paintings kind of have a resurgence. I think somebody paints it, and then everybody is like, "Oh, I didn't know about that one." And go, they find it and they paint it too. All right, so setting it down. These ones that have kind of a ruffled edge, I'm just kind of using the corner of my brush a little bit to give it a little, several brush strokes there, so it gives it kind of an interesting shape. If you don't have a filbert, you could do this with your angle brush. You could do this with the flat brush. You just kind of have to, you know, hold it a little bit differently. But you could definitely, you know, it'd be similar.
I'm still not sure how one of my more least favorite nuts got its own brush. I mean, the almond should have a brush. I mean, come on.
Oh, the filbert. That's true. Mark hates filberts. I eat all the filberts and the mixed nuts.
I wouldn't say hate. That's a little strong.
He won't eat them. Well, so what?
Okay, so if I was on a desert island and a box of filbert nuts washed up, yes, I would eat them. But there's some extreme cases. So.
What about coconuts?
Are they really a nut?
I don't know. Maybe they're a fruit. I have no idea.
So I'm going.
Legume?
I'm going to invent an
Somebody knows.
almond brush. Almond number 7.
Okay. You do that, honey. I will paint with it if you do. Almond number 7. You're crazy.
Maybe a 7/0. I don't know. We'll see.
You like it when I say that, don't you?
You sound very mathematical.
I do.
You know, speaking my language.
It's a mating call. Mathematicians. Engineers.
Did she just say ought? What?
And she wears glasses. She must be smart.
Speaking of,
What?
I'm gonna get some new ones.
I know. We ordered our new glasses, and mine were almost twice as expensive as Mark's. As usual, we have almost very similar prescriptions and stuff. So it's the frames. I always go for the most expensive frame in the store. It doesn't matter how. Every time. But I figure if I gotta wear glasses, they're gonna be cute. You know.
That's what I'm talking about.
If I gotta wear glasses.
But But I think I talked you into these. Because you were unsure.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, they were a little bit out there. But they're cute. Well, I'll show you. We should get them next week, actually. They should be in next week, so I'll show. I'm going to put a little bit of highlighting on some of these petals that are kind of in the background. Very kind of ghosted, not fully rendered, just kind of little bits of color there. Okay, so pretty. Let's clean that up. And if you want to, you could switch over now to a little bit smaller brush. Might give us a little bit more control. I think I'll use the 1/4 inch angle one here. Grab my white. Let's grab a little bit of this unbleached titanium. Just add it into my white, picking up a little tiny bit of this gray. So this will be a little bit warmer. Let's use this in some of our highlight areas. It'll just kind of warm up those areas, mainly the ones that are kind of out front. And I'm looking at my picture, and this is what I'm trying to paint now, is these really bright areas. You can see there's kind of streaks in there. They're not always kind of, you know, from the center in. Sometimes they go in across the petal. So if that's the case, I'm kind of just gonna sort of do like that. The ones that are sort of from the tip down are a little bit easier maybe. Do some lines. This is very kind of stylistic. So these will look like your flowers. They might not look exactly like mine, and that's okay. So just embrace your own style. When you get this far in, you know, you may kind of say, I'm doing this wrong. But, you know, this is the kind of project where you really can embrace, you know, your individuality. We have a, you know, if we had a room full of people doing this painting, there would be multiple different interpretations. So I fully expect that when I see these painted, you know, when they're shared in the group, they're all going to be a little bit different. So just kind of know that going in, that's kind of part of the fun of this. Sort of get to express your own inner flower, right?
Yep. Like you said before, it's just like your handwriting.
Right.
You ask, 20 people to write out a sentence of the same exact words. They're going to have 20 different looks.
Yep.
Same words, just 20 different looks.
Right. Same thing with this. So don't be afraid if it doesn't look exactly like mine. Just kind of try to... I'm just showing you a way of doing it. It's not the way, not the best way necessarily, just my way. My goal is just to kind of help you get over the fear of trying something like this. Show you how to do it step by step so that you can, enjoy painting like I do. Been painting for about 30 years. I got a comment the other day I thought was cute. It was like, how come you make it look so easy? And I was like, well, I mean, it didn't look very easy when I first started painting, but I've been painting for 30 years, so it probably looks, once you get to be at the 30-year mark, I'm sure it's going to be a lot easier for you too. So just, know that we're just got a few years head start.
You're just at a different stage.
Exactly.
Of your art career.
Got a few years head start on some folks, but does not mean that you can't get to this level if you practice and work at it.
So somebody asked about putting a butterfly in this.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So,
I like that idea.
so my question is, how would you distinguish it from the flowers? Would it, I guess it would also be the same color?
I would I would probably do it the same color and just kind of stick it off to the side here somewhere.
Okay.
We're going to do some simple butterflies in the moonlight next week. It's not going to look exactly like the reference photo. The reference photo is very kind of dotted and I don't know. We're going to soften it up a little bit. It'll actually be kind of more this style. So the butterflies will their wings will be a little bit softer like this. So you could probably insert those butterflies into this. And they'll be kind of all different shapes. So I'm not going to do them tonight, but just know that that'll be coming up next Tuesday night. So if you want to do a butterfly on this, you might just wait, or do it yourself, whatever you want to do. It's your painting, so.
Could put a tank in there.
You could put a tank in there. Okay. All right. Let me get some more of this white and this unbleached titanium here. Let's do some on this one. I'm using the thicker paint. It's just a little bit easier to do this. This is heavy body acrylics. Scooter. Scooter's going to have his choking attack, as he does almost every show. Sorry about that. That's free. You okay, Scoots? He's a sick puppy. He's got all kinds of issues. And I actually read an article about grain-free dog food causing the heart condition that he has. We put him on grain-free dog food for his diabetes, and okay, I don't know why I'm talking about this on the show, but anyhow, look it up. So I have a feeling that the grain-free food was not the best thing to give him, because now he's got heart problems too. All right, continuing with this. Oh, I like how this is turning out. It's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. And to get these kind of wispy brush strokes that I'm doing here, I'm kind of loading up thickly just right at the tip, but I'm very lightly touching it down on the canvas, and I'm not dragging it. I'm just kind of setting it down and pivoting it so that it's catching the texture of the canvas, but I'm not moving my hand across the canvas. I'm just setting it down so that it barely touches and then flicking it towards the center. And that way you get that kind of wispy, these soft wispy ends going towards the center that we're going for. If you drag it, you're going to get a more solid line, and you might end up with, something that looks more like that, and you might have a hard edge. But if you set it down and drag it, you're going to get this wispy end happening. So I'm going to show you the difference again. Zoom in here, hon. So if I set it down and I pull and then lift, I'm going to get a solid line. If I set it down and just flick it, I'm going to get this kind of wispiness. So set it down and pull and keep it solid. I'm moving my hand down. It's going to end up with a blunt end. Set it down and just flick it, and it's going to have this kind of soft, fuzzy thing happening. So that's what we're going for here. We're setting our brush down where we want it brightest and flicking it towards the center. And if you get a little bit too much paint, you can always do this with the dark color to kind of back over. I feel like it's too much.
Okay, I got a question about putting on a like glaze afterwards.
Yes.
Would that give it a nice effect? Guess it's Griselle effect, or however you say the word.
They're talking about putting a glaze of color over the top.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah, you totally could do that. This is perfect kind of painting for that. So you could use any color you wanted. You know, if you wanted red poppies, just make sure that you've got a little bit more contrast. You know, I might do a little bit more contrast between the light and dark, because you can kind of lose some of the value when you do your glaze over the top, because it'll kind of eat up the subtlety. So just, you know, if you wanted really obvious, I would go even darker with this part, even more contrast between the two areas. All right, so now I'm going to grab my round, number 1 round. You want to find a round brush that's no wider than the width that you want your stems to be. So if I press this down hard, I'm going to get, you know, a fairly wide stem, but it won't be like overly large. If you were to try to do this with a brush like this, you could get a fine line if you have good control over it. But if you press down really hard, look how wide that's going to be. So just pick your brush that way. Try to find a brush that's about the width, when you press it flat, that's about the width, the widest that you'd ever want this to go. And that way you won't hopefully end up with really fat stems on your flowers. You know, if you want to keep that fairly subtle. So, and I'm using the fluid acrylics just because it's a little bit easier to do lines with a thinner acrylic. But if you don't have the fluid acrylics, just use your heavy body acrylics and thin it down with a little bit of water so that it gets to be kind of a more soupy texture or soupy viscosity. I'm going to go with a light, it keeps going really dark. Okay, light gray here, because there's kind of a halo effect that's happening with these stems. So I'm going to go ahead and do the light color first. And then I'm going to go over it with this darker gray in the middle. And press down a little bit less to get that kind of halo effect that we're seeing in our stems. And you could have probably done this before we put on these flowers. Some of them are going to be hard to go around, so I should have had you do this first. Oh well, too late now. Then darker color in the middle. There we go.
Okay, so the glazing technique.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that are not familiar with how you would do that. Is there a video that you have that?
I did it in my black and white palette knife, New York City.
Oh, yes, I do remember that one. I like that one.
Thanks. Okay, keeping on going here. This one's going right over the top of this other one. And you might find that turning your brush or your painting to the side can help you get a little bit more control over your brush strokes. It's a little bit easier to paint in the direction that you write. So keep that in mind. You may, if you're having trouble with this. Let's do this one right here. Get the lighter color first. There we go. Going right over the top of that one. It's a little tiny bit wider where it touches the flower there. You get the darker color, and it's really dark up there, so it's almost black right here where it's touching the flower. And then I'm just going to try to go really thin right through the middle of that. Let's do some darker right here on this guy.
So we got a question about the chalk.
Okay.
Does a chalk alter the paint anyways as making it dry faster or anything like that? Or
Not that I've found, no.
okay.
No. I mean, it can be a little bit tricky. If you have a lot of chalk, really heavy chalk, it can be a little bit tricky to get the paint to stick over the top of it. So just kind of know that going in. This one's a little bit farther in on the petal, the flowers, that you may have to do a couple coats to get it to catch over, at first. This one, I don't think is going to be as big of a deal. It might only happen, when you're doing the stems. You might see a little bit of trouble with that, but let me put a darker stem right in here that's kind of hiding back there. And once we get these on, I'll erase them and you can see what's left, and then we can fix anything if we need to. This is probably the hardest part of this whole painting. And another way of doing it is with a line, an angle brush. Some people find it easier to do lines with an angle brush. It's a little bit trickier to do curved lines. That's why I used the round brush for mine. But you could do the rest of them, the ones that are a little bit more straight, with the angle brush. It really makes it fairly easy to do straight lines. Plus it holds a lot of paint. So, all right, so we're almost done. Let's do our little centers. So I'm going to grab this gray, maybe add some of this Unbleached Titanium just to give it a different color.
So do we know what kind of flowers these are?
I think these are garden poppies. I'm going to tap in some little color.
I said white, so I guess I was wrong.
You said they were white flowers. Oh, well, you're right too. Technically, this is right. too. You're silly.
You got to give them a pop of color, Governor.
Hmm?
What?
Oh, so if you were going to give them a pop of color, you would use a glazing liquid like this. Make sure it's completely dry. And then use your color, which is, thin it out quite a lot with this. And just do little sections at a time, covering over the top. And just build up your layers slowly. It can dry fairly quickly. Golden glazing liquid is a little bit better than most because it's as far as drying time, because it's got an extender in it, so it's a little bit better for for some applications. All right, so now I'm putting in my centers. I've got a fairly dark gray here, and I'm kind of putting in some little dabs for the little fluff that's around the outside of them. We'll put other colors, but this will give us some contrast against it. And you don't have to cover up all the black either. You can leave a little bit of that in. And some of them, like this one, really only seeing the top part, and this bottom part is kind of halfway. Some of them, like this one, you're going to see that it's a little bit more facing us. You're going to see a lot of these almost all the way around. Some of them, it's just going to be kind of setting inside. My favorite part of the painting right here, where it starts to kind of look a little bit more finished. There's a little bit tucked right in there. Right there, you're not seeing any right here, but I'm gonna kind of maybe add some dark to the back side of this one. Around that stem. And then let's do these seed pod things. Get a little bit darker. They're fairly dark. Kind of like an acorn shape. Egg shape, sort of. Let's grab some of the white. Do some little white details around the outside. Got little fuzzies, just little small brush strokes. All right, now I'm going to grab that white. Let me clean out my brush so I've got nice bright white. Taking my paint brush out of that water so it doesn't split. Kind of late. I think I caught it in time. All right, grabbing that white. And dab, 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 dot, 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 little dots. Okay. And then we'll put a few little highlights around the outside too. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of outline it just a little bit, just very lightly, because there's kind of a halo around the outside of that. actually think that that middle part's a little bit dark, so I'm going to go ahead and make a light gray and only do the white around the outside. So I'm going to dab this again. I'm going to start over here. That was a little bit too much white. So we'll go just a little bit darker, a little bit brighter, I mean, than that middle part color. Let's try that. Much better. And grab the white and do the white around the outside. And it might not show up if this color back here is not dark enough. Like this one, there's not a whole lot of contrast back here, so I might just add a little bit of dark back here on my petals coming from the outside. That way, when I put that white in there, there we go. Now it's gonna be a little more obvious. We just need a little bit of contrast between these two, and I'm just gonna soften that up so it's only kind of right there. All right, let's try this over here. All right, so middle value, kind of grayish right in here. This one will be a little bit better, I think. Let's do some dabs around there. Then our bright white. So it's all about that contrast. We need it dark enough for that white color to show up. If it's not dark enough behind it, it won't show up. So maybe I'll just leave a little bit of a edge of that dark around these. Going in with a little bit of the darker color.
And which brush are you using?
This is the number 1 round. Okay, so this is the only one that I really like so far. We'll just keep on working them until we like them. I'm going to put a little bit of black under here. I feel like there's needs to be a little bit more contrast underneath some of these. There we go. Grabbing that white. This part in here is pretty dark. So I'm going to do my dots with the black instead of the white. Do the same thing with this one. A little bit of black. And then some kind of middle gray here. A little bit brighter than the inside of our flower. Maybe just a touch of white. Okay. This one's got some bright white at the top. And then some I'm going to grab some kind of gray here. I'm just going to come up from the bottom into that white. This sort of blend them together. See that? And then let's use this gray up here to kind of transition between the black and the lighter color. And then a little bit of white at the very top.
So we got some questions regarding Payne's gray.
Okay, yeah, we'll go over the grays and blacks. I've got that's what I'm going to do after this. Here I've got Payne's gray is one of the ones that I'm going to show. So let's get this done first and then I'll talk about the colors options. All right, I think we're about there. Go back in and brighten up this one. And then we can use the angle brush one more time with this really bright white and add just a few really bright highlights. I've got fairly thick paint here. Don't do too much with this. This is our kind of final layer, so we don't want to cover up all of our nice dark grays. But you can see how the difference between these two and this one, there's just a little bit more brightness there.
the flower that's in the top left
one?
there.
This one?
Did you not do the center on that one?
This, oh yeah, thank you. I do need to do that.
It wasn't me pointing it out.
Okay, well. Thank you, whoever
It
pointed
was
that out.
Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
She's watching. She's got your back.
She's paying attention. All right, yes, thank you. Grab some gray here. I'll just use the tip of this brush. There we go. If you go over the stem, don't worry about it. We'll fix it. All right, I'm going to grab that. There we go. All right, so while that dries, before we try to get off the chalk marks with our paper towel here, I'm just going to show you some different blacks. So this one is bone black. This one's kind of a more of a brownish tone black. Okay, you may have to open these for me. Come on. And the way you can tell kind of the tone is just by adding a little bit of water. So I'm going to, while that's wet, I'm just going to add a little bit of water and pull it down. You can see kind of its undertone is much kind of warm. Let's grab some of this carbon black. The reason I like to use carbon black is because it is a true deep dark black. It's just, I find it's my favorite. It's a little bit shiny, so I'll go ahead and leave a little kind of a thick part there. And then thin it out. You can kind of see the difference there. They're similar. They're all going to be very similar. Mars Black is probably the closest to Carbon Black. In depth of color, darkness. Okay. Got way too much paint out there. Just a little bit of water. It's kind of more of a blue black. Carbon's a little bit warmer. Ivory is going to be almost a transparent black. If there's not, it's called opaque, but it's definitely definitely does not cover like the other blacks do. If you're trying to cover over other colors, it can be a little bit more difficult with this one. And you can see it's very warm, kind of like the even warmer. And you can see kind of where I hit it with water there, how transparent it can be. Even warmer than this one. I probably should have started it on this side.
Okay, so what are the colors in order again?
Hold on, I'll go over them. The first one was bone.
Bone.
I'm going to write them down.
Thank you. If you had bone, give yourself 5 points.
This one's Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray is just carbon black plus ultramarine blue. That's all it is. So you can mix this. You don't have to buy it. It's a great color though. So, but you can see the blue undertones in it. All right. Let me mix my favorite gray black, or the one that I like to use sometimes. It's ultramarine and burnt umber in equal parts. It's a homemade black. It's not quite. Scooter, seriously? Puppy? You couldn't wait? So mix those two together. Looks like I got a little bit more of the brown than the blue in this mixture, just depending on how much of one or the other color you use. So there, you know, in its purest form, it looks just as dark as any of these ones, right? But depending on how much blue or how much brown you use, it's got really pretty properties, and you can kind of adjust it however you like. So this is, let me write that down too. Burnt umber, if I can write. Ultra blue. Okay. So there's your different blacks. You could do any combination of these and get, you know, really nice results. And then as these dry, you'll be able to see the sheen that each of them has. But let's go ahead and take off our chalk marks and see what we've got on her finished painting here. So I'm just going to dip my rag in a, go ahead and zoom out there, hon. We're really zoomed in. You can see the results of our distressing too a little bit. And I can kind of pull it down over some of these petals since I kind of went around them.
So we have an Angela's favorite gray and an Angela's favorite black.
Well, that's the gray that is from the black, so you just add white to it.
Add white to it.
Yeah, to get the gray.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the favorite. All right, there we go. It turned out pretty nice. I like it. Let me use a liner brush for this one so we can do our signature a little bit. Well, it's not going to show up in...
Okay, well, while you do that.
Okay. Super chat? What?
Super chats. And you'd think I'd be ready for it, but I'm not. Okay, we had 2 super chats tonight. Neither of them had a special message.
Okay.
But the first one was from Nancy. And thank you very much, Nancy, for your support. And the second one was from Laura. And again, really thank you very much, guys, for your support for the channel.
Thank you so much.
And
Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking and
that's okay.
doing this at the same time.
And I think if they knew Angela's favorite black was coming out, they would have put that in there.
Another thing that we could do is splatter. I kind of thought that it might be looking nice. This is a little bit of splattering, so I'm going to do that.
Nobody expects a splatter.
I know. Gotta get some splatters in here. I'm going to do kind of a gray. I'll just do a few little splatters in between here. Just to make it a little more artsy. All right, there we go. Whoops. Just... Yeah, no, I dropped it on here. All right. Hope you guys try this. Yeah, I
So-
don't think it was particularly
No,
difficult.
it
If
was
you
super
want
easy.
the traceable, you can find it on Angela patreon.com/Angela Fine Art, and they're $1 a month for all the traceables that you want. Unlimited downloads for $1. You can cancel anytime, and most of the money goes directly to our account. The Patreon takes out a very nominal fee, so it's a really nice program that they have set up for us, and we have bonus videos and everything. If you go there, actually, you can see the 6 bonus videos that we've got available right now, that we've done, that are all available for the $5 level.
$5 and $10.
And the $10 level are different. No, the $10 level is not shown in the picture that I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you said the video. I'm sorry.
Don't listen to the man.
Never mind me. There's just different levels, different levels of.
Yeah, I just did a post
Oh.
that's public that shows the $5 level on Patreon.
Gotcha.
So most of the posts are blocked out. You can't see them because
Okay.
they're only for the
Okay.
level. But there's one post that I just posted that's public, so you can see what is available for the $5 level.
Okay.
So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching tonight. Hope you have a great week, and we will be back Saturday for we're going to do the follow-up to our girl in the field. So we're doing a blonde. She's also got a white dress. This time she's in lavender field, and we'll call it the Runaway Bride series because they're all wearing white. But should be fun. Should be about the same difficulty as the one in the poppy field, so it should